Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Podcast with Robert Ikard. This is episode number 7. We have a very special guest tonight, and his name is Nikhil Choudhary, and he is the serial entrepreneur, and angel investor in the construction industry with over 2 decades of experience leading and guiding organizations. Earlier, Nikhil has founded and led an AEC firm to become the #1 fastest growing design company in America. He helped the company scale by over 100% year over year from its inception without any external funding. Nikhil has been quoted in leading business publications, including Forbes, Business Collective, Inc., Biz Journals, and is ex-Siemens. Currently, Nikhil is working on forming his venture fund focused on construction tech and clean tech. So that is quite a biography there, Nikhil. I'm very happy to have you as a guest, and I'm sure the guests will learn a lot by talking to you. Based out of San Francisco right now. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. First of all, let me take a minute to thank you, Robert. It's a pleasure to be on your podcast and a great initiative by you. Yes, I'm based in San Francisco, Bay Area. That's one of the perks of being in Silicon Valley, that we are so familiar with technology, and being midst of all these startups and the ecosystem, we get the first-hand experience of how the industry is evolving, and get to be a part of it. So yes, it's a pleasure to be on your show.
You're in the center of the technology area, right?
Yes, yes, that's right.
Um, well, can you tell on a more personal note, and then we will get into your business enterprises. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got started and how you got to where you are today?
Sure, absolutely. It's been a long journey. There were no shortcuts for me. I got my bachelor's in civil structural engineering. Went on to get my master's in structural engineering from Michigan State. Um, I've worked different jobs, really grassroots. Started off with inspecting multiple sites in Michigan. Those days they were building a bunch of Walmart supercenters in the Midwest, and I was involved in a lot of those projects and quality control inspections. While going to graduate school, I was literally putting in 80 hours a week with going to school, being a researcher, and also working the industry. I used to start driving at 3 a.m., sometimes, across state to Ohio, where they would pour concrete at 6 a.m. So I had to be at the site. The concrete truck is not going to wait for me. Um, so I've been disciplined in that approach, and my all these experiences have taught so much, throughout my journey. Um, After Michigan, I went and joined a startup in the renewable energy space in New York. And I got to stay with that startup for 3.5 years, helped build and scale the company uh, pretty rapidly, serviced over 1,000 uh, public buildings, made them more energy efficient, more greener. So that was, pretty proud experience. Then I decided to, I had done a lot of startups and been part of a lot of startups. And I was like, let me join a larger company. And I had an opportunity to work at Siemens. And I moved to California. I was married then. And, the long distance wasn't working out too well. My wife was like, every day she was uh, wanting me to relocate to California because she was here. And then I took the opportunity and joined Siemens. And 6 months in the process, I was not very happy with the pace of how big corporations operate, because I was so used to startups. And so I turned in my resignation. Luckily for me, the next day of me turning in my resignation, uh, I get a call from my boss, and they handed me my first contract. So I had a contract before I started my company.
Oh, that's nice.
And yeah, but I incorporated my company the very same week, and it's been 10 years since I started Zenith.
Well, let
And
me stop you right there for a second. So how did that work? Were you applying for the contract before you left, or how
no, I was not. I think it's just it's the right time too. People say like there's a lot of hard work. Yes, there's a lot of hard work but you have to be at the right place at the right time.
yeah.
Somehow it worked out because I was managing a lot of portfolio projects. The team was working on Caltrans, MTC, and I had a close to a $500 million of portfolio under me, under my supervision. So they really didn't have much choice, um, because hiring so fast was very tough, right? So yeah, it just worked out.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was
No,
just curious about
absolutely.
that.
That's totally fine.
They knew a good person when they saw him.
Yeah. Yep. And there were a lot of, honestly, there were a lot of learning lessons along the way. It's starting a business. People only see, they romanticize with entrepreneurship and business ownership, but they only see what's glamorous on social media. People don't get to see what's, the hardships that come with it, and all learning lessons and failures. And my approach has always been to learn from our failures and not repeat it again and do better, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's one reason why I've always liked and advised other people, if you want to get into real estate, which is of course what this podcast is mainly about, and what I mainly do, is it's not a bad idea to read a lot of books about it.
Yes.
And some of them may be better than others, but I've never picked up one that I didn't learn something from.
Right.
And when I see these books, I think about things, and if I can, in other words, what I if I can avoid somebody else's mistake by reading it in a book, that's good. I'm not saying that's where you should keep yourself is in books, but it's a
Right.
good place. It's a good place to learn how other people have messed up.
Absolutely. That's so true. That's so true. And every mistake that we are doing now, someone has done it before, and
Yes,
history repeats, right?
right.
So reading is something that the newer younger generation is very far away from, right? They're so engrossed in their video games and but just
Social media and
picking up a book every month, that just gives you wings beyond your imagination.
motivation as well.
Absolutely,
But
absolutely.
anyway, go ahead and let's hear about where you went from there.
So
From
yeah,
You
so
started at your first contract.
yeah, so started with the first contract, and uh, you know, rookie entrepreneur mistakes were made where we did not really invest in business development and trying to get more work. We were so happy with that one contract, and
Yeah.
that 6 months down the line, that contract ended because they had
Ah,
found a replacement or replacements, and so that was a lull period. That was the first lesson we learned that you always have to invest in new business. You always have to keep hedge your bets. Go talk to more clients. Go try and meet more people. Um, so we had to, unfortunately, we had hired three people in our company, and when that contract ended, we had to lay them all off, um, and that was a tough time. But then we quickly, we learned from our mistakes. We kind of, strategized and um, got new business, invested in a BD team, invested in a sales team, formed different structures within the organization um, to become more productive and also to hedge our bets more. Um,
so that first contract, what were you exactly hired to do?
so we were hired to do project management. So we were managing
Right.
multiple projects. And from there on, we started doing a lot of deferred submittal engineering for infrastructure projects for different clients. Um, around this was all around 2012. And then around 2015, we learned another lesson that, we were just engaged with a lot of commercial clients. And, although they look very good on your books, but they are very bad with payments.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we were not getting paid in time. And for a micro business back then to manage and balance cash flow, that was a pretty rough learning lesson. But then we started our residential division, where our clients are one-time clients. They're mostly homeowners who want to build a new house or whatever, so we could ask for upfront retainer. So again, innovating. Innovation just doesn't mean technology innovation. Innovation also means like business innovation, right?
Right.
How do you manage your cash flow? What
Exactly.
projects can get you immediate cash? So that our residential division has actually, kept strong. We actually only take 5% of the opportunities that we get that knock on our door. We can be selective, but at the same time, whatever recessions happens, we always have the residential flow coming in, because
Yes.
people are always, if homeowners are not building homes or remodeling homes, then investors are.
Right.
So we always had that division, on extra drive. And it also helps to have a commercial division as well as a multifamily division as well in the company.
Now, it's the same company that now you told me earlier well, why don't
I'm aboard. Yes. So I led the company for a decade. I was the CEO of the company. It's called Zenith, and
Zenith,
I
okay.
yes,
Is it, and it's a design firm mainly?
it's a design and construction management firm.
Okay, good.
So
Both
yeah,
residential and commercial.
both residential and commercial,
Okay.
and mostly our commercial. On the commercial side, we are heavy. We are 80% commercial, 20% residential. But again, based on different timing and economics, we can flip it around a little bit. Um, but yeah, so Zenith is a company. We offer architectural services, structural engineering, as well as construction management. And I stepped down as a CEO. I had led it for a long time. I needed a break, and also we had groomed younger talent to take on leadership positions in the company. So I had to make room for them. You always have to learn from the younger generation, right, and create
Yes.
opportunities for them. So I stepped down, and I'm still an active board member. I'm a shareholder in the company.
So, all right. So it's you do you work, so you work for commercial, do you ever work for governmental entities?
Yes, sometimes we actually avoid doing that uh, just because of the bureaucracy
And the
uh,
cash flow.
and the cash flow, and
Yeah.
yeah, and also just to you actually need a dedicated team who are going after these projects, right? And as we know, most of the projects are not just based on your capabilities. There are different certifications, minority certification, this certificate. Like we can't keep a track of that. So
Oh, yeah.
very early in our inception of the company, we kind of decided, what path do we want to take with the company? Do we want to rely on these certifications, as we call it, biscuits, or create an organization that's completely independent of any political atmosphere or any economic downturn. So to keep up with that, we do not take on, but there are opportunities that knock on our door. Like we are in the city of Hayward, and city of Hayward, we have our HQ here, and they came to us, with a bid and to help out local restaurants create outdoor dining post COVID.
Oh, interesting.
And the city was investing in that plan. So that we thought that's a good cause. So we definitely applied for it. We won the contract.
Oh, okay. Now tell me about that.
Yeah, it's a pretty good initiative actually. Different restaurants can apply into the city scheme, and they have a pool of fund that the city can deploy. So they provide like free design services for these restaurants who want to upgrade their facades or remodel or create outdoor dining. So it's pretty cool.
The company I am with right now, Jim Lake Management Company, we're a redevelopment company, and we have a lot of restaurants, and
Okay.
it's in a place in Dallas here called Bishop Arts, and what almost all of them have done is pushed out to the street. So
Okay.
they've taken a section of the street and expanded their outside dining into that. And
Nice.
it looks like some of this stuff is here to stay. A
Oh
lot of it,
yeah. Oh
if
yeah. I
not.
hope it. I hope it does. I
Yeah, I
hope
do
it does
too.
stay. It just helps these restaurants, create more room and
Right.
make a better environment for the diners.
I mean, personally, if the weather's good outside, I prefer outside dining.
Likewise.
You do
Likewise.
too?
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
So
Yeah.
it makes a great atmosphere. I mean, well, I'm in Dallas, Texas, so
Right.
that's not always the case, but
Yeah.
they do different things. They can do misters, and they can do different things to keep it very comfortable out there, even if it's hot outside.
Hard outside. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Uh,
that was the city of San Francisco,
that was City of Hayward. That is City
city
of
of
Hayward.
Hayward,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you were awarded the contract.
We were awarded the contract this year, yeah. But we have multiple contracts. We, like I told you, we hedge our bets. At any given year, we have over 100 different clients, and uh,
Can you tell me about some of the diversity of your clients and
absolutely,
the services you provide to them?
sure, sure. We have a very diverse portfolio. Being in Silicon Valley, we get to help a lot of startups who are coming up with great innovative products in construction. We get to work with them. We've done a lot of work in modular construction. So we've helped a lot of modular manufacturers, developers who want to use modular technology. We have a few projects going on in Sacramento, 150 unit affordable housing development where we are the lead architects, lead engineers, owners rep.
So they build the structures offsite and bring them in. Is that correct or not?
Yes, yes. In some
Okay.
cases, in certain cases, civil is obviously done at site, and a lot of the components, the shell, is delivered from offsite manufacturing facilities. So we get to be a part of that. We were also one of the first firms when the seismic retrofit ordinance came out in California. We were the first firm that was a pioneer in seismically retrofitting historic buildings or older buildings. So we have serviced over 1,000 multifamily buildings. Uh, that translates into like 20,000 units that we've
Wow.
helped retrofit and make them code compliant and earthquake safe.
Okay. So that's what I was going to say. That's what it sounded like to me, that you beef them up or make them
Yeah,
better withstand tremors and earthquakes. Is that correct?
correct, correct. Yeah, so the way in the 60s and 70s, how the buildings were built in LA was they have a tuck under parking. So that was those days the architects thought that that's the best utilization of space to create parking within the building. And what that did was, with an opening on one side of the wall, it created a soft story, as they call it. So basically, that does not have it's because it's not beefed up. It does not have studs. It's more susceptible to earthquakes.
Wow. And that's the foundation of your building,
Yeah, that's
because it's
above the
the first,
parking.
well, not
Correct.
the
Yeah,
foundation, but
the first
one of
level.
the one of the
Exactly.
first floor. Yeah, the first or second floors.
Correct. And then people are living above it. So, the city, San Francisco was the first city in California that kind of adopted this ordinance. And then, it was a trickle effect. City of Los Angeles then came up with their own, Berkeley, Oakland. So it became pretty popular after that.
And so how do you go about doing that? Just for the amateur like me.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So there are different ways that you can do it. So the dumbest way to do it is remove the parking and create a stud wall. But that's not going to happen. The tenants are going to complain, and there'll be lawsuits flying across. But there are prescriptive approaches in the ordinance where you can add a moment frame, you can add a steel frame um, to those buildings and still preserve your parking spaces. Just eat a little bit, of your parking spots and You can put a drag strap and kind of get all the forces to go to the foundation properly through the steel moment frame. So that's one of the approaches. We've also done very cool project. We're working on a project in downtown LA that's a 14-story 1928 building,
Oh
uh,
wow. We
concrete.
we own a building that was built in that
Okay.
era.
Yep, and that's in the
The
heart of.
company I work for, yes.
Okay, so that
And
this one is in.
we're totally rehabbing it.
Yep, and so this one is right in the heart of Los Angeles in downtown, and there's a ordinance for these towers too, which were built in the 1900s.
Right.
So that's going through a major seismic retrofit design right now. And again, like we'll be using cross braces and different kind of solutions. So it's not just one solution that you can think
Right.
you can come up with in these kind of buildings, right? It's a mix. It's a hybrid of shotcreting. It's a hybrid of strengthening the foundation and then putting some steel sections in the building.
Well, if I ever stay in one of those buildings, I'll be happy to know you've beefed it up.
Sure, yes.
So, okay, now tell me this Zenith Company, you did very well. I'm going to read this again because it was so interesting. You helped the company scale by over 100% year over year from its inception without any external funding. Can you tell us how you did that?
Well, I tell a lot of younger entrepreneurs and founders that uh, people are so focused these days on growth, they forget about profits, right? And our focus was always balanced. While we were focusing on growth, we also cared about profits because again, like we didn't have any external investors. Neither, we never needed one. But our approach was, you have to maintain that fine balance between profit and growth.
Right.
So, it's a pretty fine line. People forget about that sometimes. They will keep, focus on growing the team. But then if your bottom line is not improving, or actually it's decreasing, then what's the point of growing the team?
Right.
Right. So we made some, pretty good, decisions along the way where, uh, if we had to take hard decisions, we would do that. But the most important part was, keeping the team motivated, finding new opportunities, not being, complacent with what we have.
Right.
So we've kind of trained our team to go out and seek for different opportunities, and we like to keep an open mind when someone, even a younger folk in the team, comes in and says like oh, this is a great opportunity. We don't shut the door on that person.
Right.
We have an open discussion. We review it. We give them additional tasks to we give them more time to look at it and come back with a more concrete, solution. If this can be, we can actually take on this opportunity.
So the company is Zenith, right?
Yes.
And where do you focus just in the Bay Area or is it a wider focus?
No, we have a wider focus. We have an office in LA. We
Okay.
our headquarters is in the Bay Area. We also have an office in Sacramento. And we actually service a lot of projects nationally.
Okay.
We have a wastewater treatment plant, a couple of them going up in Arizona. We've done a lot of work in Texas actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of infrastructure projects, wastewater treatment plants, water treatment plants. We've worked in Florida, we've worked in New York. Um, so we most of the general contractors that we work with or service on the commercial side, they come to us for complex engineering, and they are all national companies. So if they have an office here, the word spreads that hey, go use this team, they're good.
Right.
They have engineers who are licensed in multiple states, so that
Oh,
difference.
okay.
Yeah.
So you have projects all the way from single family homes to complex government
Yes.
jobs and complex commercial jobs and big civil engineering jobs.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so how many people does the company have? The
So we
Zenith?
have so we have close to 60 people. Uh,
Oh, okay. Wow.
660. Yeah. We have 60 people. And uh, yep.
Engineers and support staff, I suppose.
Engineers, architects, estimators, coordinators, job captains, construction
Yeah, business
managers,
people.
yeah, business people, business development team, pretty solid team.
That is good. So now you stepped away from that. I don't want to jump away too fast from that. If there's anything
Sure.
else you want to add about that, but you tell me where if you want to get into what you're doing now.
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, I took a little break and trying to figure out what I want to do next. And uh, while in the process, and even before, while I was leading Zenith, I used to get opportunities approached by startup founders who are creating innovation in the industry. And I was always intrigued because being from within the industry, I understand that we're facing a lot of labor issues, material shortages, and we're at a time where only technology and new innovation and ideas can solve our problems right now. Over 60% of our industry is less than 25 years old globally, if you take
Wow.
construction. So think of the knowledge, uh, like how's the knowledge being transferred right now? A lot of folks like yourself, would soon, like in 10 years, retire, and you would go want to go fish,
Right.
and
Maybe in the Bay Area
maybe
even.
in the Bay Area, right? But how do you transfer that knowledge right now? It's all in your head. Um, and a lot of companies are coming up with great ideas of how to transfer that knowledge, and how to make it more efficient, how to make building processes more efficient. So that kind of got me thinking, that what's the next step? Where can I add value? What's a value proposition for me, and a solid value proposition that I can add to the society? And that's when I came up with the plan of starting a venture fund. So I'm working on it right now, and the premise of it being helping startup founders, uh, seek either get funding, get advice, or in many cases both. Get them to the right audience, connect them with the right network of people within the industry, kind of dumb down the message that they want to convey, but
Right.
to the right audience. Sometimes I this is what I see a lot, that a lot of founders are uh, they're technologists
Right.
and they lack the construction industry expertise, or the right network in the industry. And also, I tell everybody that our industry is very complicated. It's not as easy as just pressing a button and changing things.
Right.
If you go approach the executive team of a company, they're not the ones who are making most decisions on the project. It's the project coordinator, the assistant
Yeah.
project manager,
Right.
that's doing all the legwork, right? So you have to convince those guys. And how do you go and convince those folks? Um, so, yep, that's my next mission, of assisting these startups and getting
Yeah.
their
Mainly
products
in the
out to the market.
and so in the construction industry,
In the
mainly.
construction, yes. So my funds focus is going to be purely construction technology and clean tech, clean technology as well. So sustainability, sustainable
Right.
homes, better building products, lesser carbon dioxide generation. We want to help support these kind of startups that are changing the world for good.
Yes, well, that's one thing we do at our company is we do redevelopment.
Okay.
So rather than just taking a piece of land or mowing down a building, we we'll take a historical neighborhood or historical buildings, and we will redevelop them, and
Right.
we will try to do it in the most historically accurate way possible, um, within reason. And so that's a nice trend, because one thing you can do is if you'll notice, if you go to a different town, let's say wherever you live, you happen to live near a Chili's. I don't know. Do you have Chili's there?
Yes, we do.
I'm picking
We
on
do.
Chili's right
Yes.
now because it just
Right.
popped into my mind. But Chili's or Applebee's or whatever, and let's just say you go there once a week or whatever with your family. Well, if you want to go traveling, if you want to go to another city, I don't think you want to go to another Chili's in that other city.
That's
You
right.
want to go to some place and a lot of people, not everybody, but
Yes.
a lot of
Yes.
people want to go and say, hey, what is this place about? What's left of?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yes, you're absolutely right. You know, and we have such beautiful buildings in San Francisco, especially in California.
Yes.
You look at the facade of these buildings, you're like, who makes these days? You know, no one, right?
Right. You
There's
don't.
there's no skill. There's people who do not have that. So it's actually our duty to protect these buildings, to
Yes.
to maintain them.
Modern architecture is stunningly lacking in intricacy and beauty and design
100%.
in many cases. What are your
100.
thoughts on that
Oh,
topic?
100%. You know, I met with this amazing startup founder. Yeah, I was a judge on a in a startup competition where he pitched, and he said something very interesting. So what he's doing is he's replicating an already existing luxury home, but taking the same footprint and shrinking it down. So let's say a home costs like $5 million. I'm just throwing out a number.
Right.
Um, you know, uh, a rich family has built it for themselves. Now he's he's taking those plans, working with the general contractor who worked on the project, and making it trying to find out what the problems were during the build process, and now changing and tweaking the design and shrinking it a little bit to now make that home $1 million home, right? So it's a lot of use of efficiency, but also keeping in mind the same architecture and the same beautification
Oh, okay.
that was put into the house, right? So he said something interesting. You know, Eichler Homes. I don't know if you're aware of Eichler Homes. Eichler was an architect who built a lot of homes in California
Yes, it does ring a bell.
in the 1900s, and those homes are still like they go for a premium price. Because they're just like mid-century modern design. They're just beautiful. They have more open windows. They have a courtyard in the middle, in the center.
Oh,
And
nice.
and these are not bigger homes. These are smaller homes, you know. But again, like we've kind of along the way, we've forgotten how
Right.
to build good homes, like beautiful homes.
Yes.
And
Commercial buildings as well.
same, exactly. So this
They've
is
become very utilitarian.
absolutely, and
Um,
exactly. You know, it's like you see what the Toll Brothers are building now, and it's good because that's what the market demand is. But again, that's not my type, of a
you're talking
house,
about
right?
more like where you
A
can,
track home.
well, yeah. I mean, that's always been my fear is to come home and take the wrong turn, end up at the wrong house. I mean, I don't live in that type of neighborhood, but if
Yeah.
I did, I would wonder, I'd say, I think you could get mixed up where you
So
even
so
live.
absolutely. So the houses, through the process, the houses have lost their character. And yes, so it's I think the need of the hour that we start innovating on
Yes.
our buildings that we design, and make it more sustainable, make it more energy efficient, get the costs down. There's like 20% of construction costs that are waste, basically. We buy more material than we need to. We spend more time on labor than we need to, right?
Yes.
There are crews that are waiting on a project while the material is still not delivered. So all these things can be solved by technology, by the use of technology, and with innovation.
Well, let's talk a little bit about construction costs because it's been a big issue in this country. And where do you see the construction costs? Where do you think? I mean, I've heard that some people are going to metal frames from wood frames, and I mean, can you give me an update? Because I mean, I do some construction and renovation, but nothing like you.
Okay.
So I'd like you to help us
So
to understand where some of the costs are and where they're heading, or what you see happening.
right. So I think modular technology in general is still in the nascent stages. It still will take time for it to be very cost effective because there are a lot of issues. There are supply chain issues. most of the facilities that manufacture are outside California. And because California land is expensive, so nobody wants to set up a manufacturing facility here, right? Most
High
of our
regulatory
yeah,
environment as well.
yep. Most of our companies, you guys are taking over,
Yeah.
or taking on. Texas is taking on.
Yeah.
So how do you ship those products here, right? So I think it's still in the nascent stages. In terms of construction material cost, I feel, wood prices soared up, but now they've kind of, come down again, um, to a much normal position. Um, but I feel, different technologies that are 3D printed, 3D printing. There is modular, there is light gauge steel in modular. There is, people are using steel frames to build. They're trying to save up on labor wherever they can, and however they can. But I still feel that the right approach is hybrid. A lot of work can be done on the field using conventional building materials, but with an innovative approach. So there are a lot of manufactured wood uh, facilities that are popping up, and they're just using wood, and they're banking on repeatability. So they're using the same design again and again.
Okay.
Uh, but again, like most of your studs or all of your studs are manufactured in their facility, and they're assembled in a kit of parts kind of approach where they deliver these kits, and the workforce or the labor, they're trained how to assemble these. Versus, sawing it on the field and figuring out
Right.
to nail
With the
it.
skill
Right?
saw out there. Yeah.
Exactly, right? So things like this, I feel that the hybrid approach for the next 5 to 10 years would be, you know, the approach to take in terms of building.
So when you're helping people to start their own venture capital, this is your new venture, right? I
Yeah.
hate to
So
use the,
when
I hate to
building
overuse the word
startups,
venture, but this
yeah,
is your new business. Is
correct,
you're helping other people to raise venture capital to
right,
pursue their dreams in different areas, but mainly in the construction area.
right, correct.
And so what kind of companies are you working with,
So
trying to help them?
a lot of different companies. Honestly, there's so much innovation out there. I'm just in the last 2 months, I've been more active. Uh, and have talked to so many wonderful founders, and they all have amazing great ideas. One of the companies that I'm still talking to, I might take an advisory role with them. It's a robotics company,
Okay.
and they don't manufacture robots, but all these robots that you see sometimes on LinkedIn feeds, the robot that looks like a dog, right? Boston Dynamic robot. Most of these companies that are manufacturing these robots are focused on the movement of the robot. So people don't understand that there's still a man behind that robot or a
Yeah.
woman with a remote control driving these robots. So
Right.
that's really not, saving much human hours. So what this company that I'm working with right now, they're doing is, they're bringing automation to these robots.
Okay.
And these guys are, ex-NASA, and they've worked in, their career has been in automation. So, you imagine like a nuclear facility,
Right.
and let's say there is a leak in a nuclear facility. Now, are you going to send humans when you have trained
No.
autonomous robots? So you
Yes.
send four of these robots, and they can just scan the whole facility. They can detect a gas leak. They can detect a cell phone vibration. They can detect objects like a backpack with 100% accuracy. And when they come back in 2, 3 hours, you get a full floor plan of your facility with exactly matched rooms. Um,
And no danger to human life.
no danger to human life. And so many applications with robotics, right? Like how do you monitor progress on construction site? Right now, it's a person, your site super or whoever,
Right.
taking notes and going down, right? Think
That's
of
the way
these
it's been
robots.
for a long time.
Exactly. Think of these robots who can detect and identify what a stud is, what nails are, what bolts are, and now they can get the feed and match it to your Gantt chart and figure out,
Wow.
okay, this activity is getting delayed because they're walking the site day in and day out, and notify the construction manager, hey, you should focus on this. This might be your critical path in the next coming 2 months. Uh,
Or even as simple as, hey, we're getting low on nails. Let's make sure we,
Correct.
right?
Right, exactly. And
rather
also
than
safe.
relying on a human to
Correct.
visually pick up on that.
Correct. Or safety, right? Think of safety issues, right? That
Yes.
happen on the side where there are people who are not wearing proper harnesses. They're not wearing proper PPE, right? And these robots are just going and pointing it out. They're like,
Yeah.
they scan it. They're like, raise an alarm, like, hey, you better wear that.
Well, if
So
you're a construction company, I think you'd rather have your robot tell you than OSHA tell you.
ocean, exactly, exactly. So that's a
I think that's one way they could sell that technology.
totally. So that's one of the startups that I'm talking to right now. There are a few startups in the ADU space. ADU is a new law in California. It's a bill that allows single-family homeowners to put a backyard unit on their
Okay.
lot,
Oh,
on their lot,
accessory dwelling unit. Yes.
accessory dwelling units, and then
Yes.
it's just the state has made it way easy because earlier before this bill, cities used to have their own restrictions, and cities are
Right.
notorious because they want to keep that power,
Exactly.
right? And with the state law now, people are able to build a backyard unit, an ADU, and rent it out, generate income, right? Because and it's also solves it's like a two-way thing, right? Because it also solves the housing crisis. People
Exactly.
don't have money these days to go and buy new homes here. Look at the prices in California; it's insane, right?
Well, I mean, even putting your mother or your father in an assisted living facility, my
Absolutely,
goodness, look at the price
absolutely,
on that. When
absolutely,
they could possibly be just a few steps away
exactly,
and have their own bathroom and their own privacy, but
right,
then you can help them more.
right.
That type of thing would help too.
100%. So there's the one startup, I actually had a call with them today, and very interesting. They're making these small 150 square feet, uh, they call it work units. So
Okay.
with the hybrid work revolution now, people are working from home. They have,
Right.
let's say smaller spaces. They have kids in the house making a ruckus. Where do you go out and work? And, just put these units in your backyard, and they're
Yes.
beautiful looking units, sustainable. They have solar panels on it. And then boom, in a month you have a space to work at.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome. They doing that here in Dallas as well, but
okay,
that's that's a great innovation. And so you help innovators and you help them move forward with construction technology. That
yes. So
um,
I help innovators. We kind of partner with them, and
oh, okay, you partner with them.
we partner with them in a sense where we come in as an advisor, or if we can connect them with the right investors. Until my fund is fully formulated. Once my fund is completely uh, done, then we would also invest in these startups. Uh,
Okay, so you're building a fund also, and then
yes,
this would be kind of like an angel fund or
yes, it
something like
will.
that.
It will be a venture fund. It will be
Venture
an
fund.
enterprise venture fund where I've been angel investing myself since a decade. So I've done that, but now it's a fund which is more uh, serious money that we will be
Right.
investing in these startups
Yes.
to help scale.
I talked to somebody yesterday, and he's raised already $100 million to invest in ground up development in the DFW area.
Wow.
And
Wow.
yeah, and he said it wasn't hard to do. And I was talking to another person I work with, and they said, "Wow, that how did he do that so quickly?" And I said, "Well, look at where we are." I said,
Exactly.
people want to
Exactly.
put money, people want to put money here in
So,
development. I get phone calls all the time. I do real estate, commercial leasing as well.
mhm.
And I get phone calls for huge warehouse facilities. We don't have nearly enough.
Right.
If we had more here, we could rent out more. I could rent out 5 times as much,
Wow.
10 times as much if we just had the product. But
Absolutely.
we got to build
Absolutely.
it. We have to build
Absolutely.
it. And so it's growing like crazy around here. And,
I
but,
think across the nation. I think across the nation. And whenever someone from outside the industry, I have a lot of friends who are doctors and they have absolutely no idea of real estate investment or techies.
right.
And they come and ask me like, hey, where do I invest my money? And I always tell them like, pick up if you have extra money, pick up real estate. There is a reason why it's called real estate. That's the
Yes.
only estate that's real.
Tell us why you like real estate. Do you own any real estate?
I own a lot of real estate. Yes. So
tell us what you like and why you like it.
Right. So since about 10 years, I made it. So I never let cash sit in my bank account. And, because it's sitting in my bank account, what interest do I get? 0.05% a year.
Right.
It's even sad to see how much interest you get back end of the year.
It's actually negative when you consider inflation.
Negative, yeah, with the fees that you pay. So I made it a point that, I started with investing smaller amounts in smaller real estate. But, I have a portfolio of, I picked up single family homes in the start. I've never sold a house that I bought. Then I started picking up, multifamily units.
Okay.
And then also went into commercial. So, my rule of thumb is I go into a new development commercial and try to grab the smallest commercial spaces out there. And it's actually paid out pretty well for me because, my thought process around that was that smaller spaces would be easiest to rent. So because there are a lot of small businesses, right? Like hair salons or,
right.
barber shops and delis and, a lot of these mom and pop owners that want to start there. So that's kind of been my motto. So, since about 10 years, I've been, with dedication,
Yes.
either through syndicate or personally myself, I've always tried to, put in money in real estate. And, I love it because, again, like it doesn't grow as fast as these, cryptocurrency or Dogecoin or whatever these guys say, man, that's beyond me,
Beyond me too.
Yeah. And I was like, again, nothing has come to my life in a shortcut, right? So
Right.
I only understand the hard way. And I
Yes.
believe that, by the time I'm older, all the properties that I've picked up would be paid for. And I'm not
Yes.
leaving a liability
Right.
to the next generation, right? I'm actually, so it will take time, and again, as long as I'm not, spending money and at break even with these properties, I'm totally okay because the mortgage is being paid for, right, by the tenants, basically.
Exactly. That's what it
Right.
was going to be. My next point is you're not paying for them.
Exactly.
Now, of course, you can have vacancies and you'll have maintenance and
Right.
deferred maintenance that you may have to deal with initially and things like that. But it's I mean, recently I wouldn't want to compare real estate to a lot of other investments.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
I wouldn't want to be the other investments. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, 100% agreed, 100% agreed, and again, like it's equitable value, right? Look at people who have bought, spent too much money or invested too much in stock market. And we see it directly, right? Like we have at Zenith, a lot of clients come in and, they came in pre-COVID and, or just when COVID started, when the stock prices were like going up. And we could tell that these guys have made too much money in the stock market, and they had this, project that they wanted to develop. And 6 months later, when the stocks went down, now all these projects are on a pause, on a hold right now because they don't have money, right? So they're just relying on, stock gains or short-term gains. But I think the real value is real estate, which is like slow but steady, right? It always keeps on climbing a little bit, right?
And I think, I know there's a lot of technology and there's a lot of people that are working from home but I still see a need for real estate going forward. I mean, even if you can work from home, that's a trend. I think it's obviously going down now after COVID is over.
Right.
But I did it. I've done it. I've worked from home. I've worked remotely, and it's very isolating. I think it can be very isolating. You don't have the social interaction. You don't have the business interaction. You don't have the business exchanges that you would have talking on Zoom. No offense, we're doing that right now. We're on Teams actually, but talking this way, it's good. Maybe one-on-one, but you put a group of 10 people together like this. To me, it doesn't
it's
work.
a nightmare. It is a nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
Yes. Correct. And again, like maybe I'm just old school, and yes, one-on-one, maybe three-way call, it's okay. But when you're doing a team discussion, it's also about the energy. It's also
Right.
about the energy that you share. Like you dress up and go to work,
Yes.
and you take a shower in the morning and go dress up and go to work. And a lot of people forgot that,
Right.
uh, and I think it just creates that, the flow of energy when you're working in a close proximity with your team.
Yes.
And especially in our industry where it's so complex, it needs that coordination, right?
But even if you see things like Amazon taking off, which they have, of course,
Right, right.
they need warehouses. They,
Yes,
they there's warehouses all over here,
right.
Amazon warehouses. I mean, humongous facilities, and so even as innovation comes along, I still see the need for real estate. It may be a changed need, but there's still a strong need for real estate.
Right. I absolutely agree. I think this, hybrid work revolution, a lot of companies have started realizing. We see Amazon, we see, look at Tesla. They sent out a memo a month ago that,
Oh,
hey, if you're working from home, basically come back to the office. You're not allowed
or
to
you're
work from home,
gone.
or you're gone, right? And
Yeah.
I knew this is going to come, right? And
Right.
actually, that's with knowing that this is going to come up, we started picking up a lot of commercial property actually.
Oh, okay.
During COVID time when this,
Smart.
whole work from home thing happened, and because we know how hard it is for commercial properties, good commercial properties to come around. Because a lot of these owners, they don't want to sell it, they sit on it. And then there was a panic attack during COVID because they lost their tenants, and there were a lot of good properties in the market. So
True.
for Zenith, we picked up our office space in LA. We bought our own office space, and now we're in escrow to buy our HQ space in the Bay Area as well.
Well, even here in there's a town called Addison, which is north of Dallas,
Right.
and it has a lot of restaurants and entertainment venues and stuff like that. Well, I'm normally driving when I when I go around DFW, but my wife was driving the other day, and so finally I got a chance to look out the window and look around a little bit, and I saw a lot of empty restaurant buildings. I
Mm.
must have counted 5 or 6 of them,
Oh,
and this was all on Beltline Road here, and of course I think COVID hit them. Okay,
right, right.
it did hit them, and now we've got inflation, and
Hmm.
their people's dollars are only stretching so far. I mean, we can talk about construction costs, we can talk about real estate, we can talk about um, restaurants, we can talk about shopping, you can talk about anything, but really everything relies on fuel.
Right,
And when fuel prices go up as they continue to do so, it's gonna make everything go up. There's
right.
just no way around that.
Yep, 100%. That's the start of inflation, Again, it affects your supply chain, it affects, everything. But yes, I completely agree that, yeah, fuel prices do drive, most of the inflation, basically.
And we may be heading into another period of buying opportunity for people that do have some money on the sidelines.
I do agree. I think a lot of people have, whoever has bought homes, especially in these hyped up pockets, like the Bay Area, in a rush, just following the herd. Uh, it's literally like, some of my family members, they would call me. I didn't want to bust their bubble, but they would call me. They called me too late. They picked up a property, and I was like, oh my God, like how much money did you pay for that in that location? And 2 years ago, that was like a third of that price. And
Wow.
like you've been renting for 8 years, you could have rented for 2 more years, or a year more.
Right. See
Um,
what's coming.
yeah, but
Yes.
again, they see their friends buying, but they're. I tell this to people, right? The primary home that they live in is not an investment.
No.
And,
Right.
and your home is not a zip code. It, you know, it, a house is what you make of it. So
Now, why do you say a home is not an investment?
well, it's you're flowing money into it. You're not gaining anything from it, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, so it'd rather be a smaller space that you can easily afford.
Right.
And these people I'm talking about are, they're able to afford mortgage and living because both the husband and wife are working, or both the partners are working, and now all of a sudden, if one of them loses their job, how are they going to afford the mortgage, these hefty mortgages, right? And then if they want to sell that property, no one's buying it for the price you bought it for, right? So it's unfortunate that this trend has been happening since the past 2 years, but that creates opportunities for investors, and
Well,
obviously people.
I think the countervailing pressure also is, I totally agree with what you're saying, but then there's also another counter pressure, which is the fact that we have a shortage of housing.
Right.
We have more and more people coming into this country. We have a shortage of housing. We're not keeping up. Construction costs are very high. So they do, people do have that still working in their favor. But like you say, if you're relying on two incomes and you've got your car, you've got a car with a loan on it and a house with a loan on it and credit card debts, it's probably a recipe for possible disaster.
I know, and it's actually fortunate for investors like us that people are not looking at multifamily. They're still going for single family, while multifamily actually could be a best vehicle of ownership for these first-time home buyers. Let's say a small multifamily 4-unit building. You live in 2 units yourself, and then rent out the other two. That helps you pay for your mortgage. And I tell this, I teach this to all the young folks in my company, and they've been following this model actually. If they want to buy a house, they would actually go in a slightly distressed neighborhood and pick up a multifamily unit, which would be the same cost of them picking up a single family in a nicer neighborhood. But
Right.
they understand that, hey, listen, like this is paying for itself. You've created income source for yourself now.
I mean, many cases you can have even a simple duplex and you can have the renter on the
So
other side paying the whole mortgage.
absolutely, absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
so I think there's going to be a lot of that in the future being built,
Right.
of course, and there has been in the past. But the traditional large single family homes, I'm not sure how many more we're going to see of those being built in the future because they are probably not as energy efficient or cost effective in the future. And
Yeah.
I don't mean necessarily 5 or 10 years from now, but probably 25, 30 years from now, one other thing we're doing in our company is we're building mini homes in one of our
Mm,
new developments.
mm,
We do some new development, and that's one of the things we're doing is popping up a lot of mini homes. And
nice.
and I was thinking as an investor, I'd like to own some mini homes. I
Absolutely.
mean, why not?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%, 100%. I
Little
think that's
little
the
cash
future.
flow.
Yeah, and I think that's the future of housing, like you say,
Yes.
I think that's where the world is. I live in a bigger house, but how much of the floor area I utilize in the house I live in?
Right.
Not even half of it.
Yes.
Uh, but I think I think the younger generation is going to have a completely different approach
Right.
to housing. I think they'll be more efficient and more conscious of energy consumption,
Right.
and also avoiding getting into a bigger space if they can manage with a smaller space basically.
Right.
Mm.
But well, thank you very much, Nikhil. This has been a fascinating interview, and I've really enjoyed having you on. And I think we've all learned a lot about what you do and what your thoughts are on things. And is there anything else you'd like to add today?
No, I think this has been great. It's been an absolute pleasure. I wish you all the best in all your other podcasts, and
Yes.
this is a great initiative. I'd,
Yes.
I'd I'd love to help support you in any way.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is one thing I wanted to mention earlier is the one reason I like to do these podcasts. You were talking about transferring knowledge to younger people. This
Right.
is one of the best ways I know of doing it is to
Absolutely.
capture it in this way and to talk to people who are leaders in the field. You can capture it in podcasts because how many other people are going to have a chance to sit down and have an hour long cup of coffee with you or lunch? It's not going to be too easy to do, but this will allow them to do that. So
Absolutely.
thank you
That's
very much for your time.
likewise, Robert. Let's keep in touch. Thank you
Okay.
again. Thank you
Yes,
so
we do.
much.
Okay.